future possible. You know, whenever we have the spaceflight honorees come and visit the Kennedy Space Center for a launch, we host a brief get-together at the Saturn V facility to kick off their day of tours. And I get an opportunity to thank them and talk with them. And you're standing underneath this Saturn V rocket, and you look at it and you say, wow, that was an amazing program. That was NASA in the 60s and 70s. That was us. That's what we did here at KSC. And that defined us. And behind me, out on the launch pad, is an equally impressive program. It's absolutely fantastic. And, you know, it's been going for 30 years. It'll be 100 years before there's ever anything as capable as the shuttle again, if there is. And it's going to end up in a museum. And just like that Saturn V, we're going to look at that and we're going to say, wow, that was an amazing program. We really accomplished something. But back behind us, out on that launch pad, at that launch complex, I assure you there will be an equally impressive program that comes along, and we, NASA, we as a community, a contractor civil service team, are going to continue to dare mighty things, because that's who we are. First slide. Let's talk a little bit about where we are, what we're doing, and where we're going. You know, one thing that has remained constant through all of this is the Launch Services Program. This is the heart of what we do in providing expendable launch vehicles for our NASA science missions. We had a couple of great launches earlier this year, the Solar Dynamics Observatory studying our sun, and the GOES-P weather satellite. We've got another one coming up this fall that's going to launch out from Vandenberg, the Glory mission. And that pretty much wraps up this year. It's a little slow after the really dynamic year we had last year. But next year, things pick up again. We've got 5 expendable launches coming up through the Launch Services Program. And it continues to pick up in the out years. And so, you know, people say, well, we're not launching rockets. Well, we are launching rockets. You know, yeah, they're not going off Launch Complex 39, but they're launching from here at Cape Canaveral. You know, they're launching from the Cape. They're part of what we do. I know a lot of you are interested in the NLS-2 contract. The procurement's moving along. They're in the discussion phase right now, and we hope to award that by the end of July. But Launch Services is doing a fantastic job, and they're going to continue to do a key job. The Space Shuttle program, I mean, let's face it, it has been phenomenal for 30 years, but it's coming to an end. It's like I've told folks before, the very first thing I said when I got here almost 2 years ago was, you know, by the end of 2010, the shuttle program is going to come to an end. We might slip a little bit, but generally it's coming to an end. It's a $2 to $2.5 billion a year program, and if we continue to do that, we do not have the funding available to do the other things that we're being asked to do. And when you come right down to it, where we're proceeding to turn commercial operations in low Earth orbit over, turn operations in low Earth orbit over to the commercial sector, it's the right thing to do. We, NASA, we know how to do that. It ought to be our job to explore, to go beyond Earth, to develop those technologies that nobody else can do, that nobody else can afford. And that's what we're doing. Right now, we've got 2 shuttle missions left. And of course, they're scheduled for July and September. The alpha magnetic spectrometer, it's not going to make July. They've got some work to do. And although none of this is official yet, we'll see where we end up. It looks very likely that that will slip into early next year. And then the supply mission that we're going to fly in September might slip into October. And that'll better utilize the orbiters to get the most up to the space station. Whether we get that 3rd launch on need flight, that's still to be determined. But we're going to prepare Atlantis to be the launch on need vehicle should anything happen to the previous 2 when they launch. And hopefully, you know, if funding's right and we can figure out how to do it, maybe we'll get 1 more flight out of Atlantis and get 3 more. But for sure we got 2 more, and they're going to slip a little from the schedule that you see. Next slide. I always like to show that what the space station looked like 10 years ago. You know, and go to the next slide. What we have accomplished in the last 10 years in space, it's truly phenomenal. You know, when you look back on where it was, nobody thought we could do that. Everybody talked about the wall of EVA. We're never going to be able to do all those EVAs. Look at all the spacewalks we have done to assemble the space station. And we're working with All our international partners, I mean the European Space Agency and all its partners, Russia, Canada, Japan, the United States, hardware built around the world coming together for the first time in space, and it works. International partnership. And we need to continue with that collaboration. When we do eventually explore beyond low Earth orbit, the international partners want to be a part of it. They want to see us lead the way. That is what we do. They look to our leadership in the exploration of space, and they want to be a part of it. And we're going to continue to do that. We've had people on the space station for 9.5, almost 10 years now. 10 years this October. And we got a crew of 6 that's up there, or soon will be. You know, it's amazing to be up there. If you've seen any of the video and what's being accomplished, you know, we finally gotten the space station to a point where we can utilize it for what it was meant to be, this phenomenal science laboratory in space. And hopefully we can capitalize on that here at Kennedy Space Center as we do research, develop and process payloads, and get them up to the space station. And yeah, they're not going to be going up on a shuttle. They're going to be going up on a new commercial rocket. They're going to be going up on the ATV and the HTV and the Progress vehicles. But we still have a job here at KSC, and with the emphasis on making the space station an international, a national laboratory, you know, hopefully using the Space Life Sciences Lab and developing that capability, drawing researchers and scientists here to develop those payloads, we can make something of that. The final 2 space shuttle missions this year are going to stock even more spare parts up on the space station and bring more supplies up. But I think, you know, if you look at the space station, yes, it's a science laboratory, but even more so, it's an engineering test bed for what we need to do to explore beyond the confines of our home planet. You know, the example I always use is like the Russian electron system that provides oxygen on the space station. It's got a 285-day design life. You can't get from here to Mars and back again in 285 days. You know, we need systems that are more robust, more reliable, last longer, work better to do that exploration, so we don't have to carry a ton of spare parts with us. And the space station provides that test bed. We could use a breakthrough in technology for on-orbit propulsion. Wouldn't it be neat if we could get to Mars in you know, a couple of weeks instead of 6 months? That's what we're going to be doing. That's what we're looking to in the future. Next slide. You know, the Constellation program here at KSC has done a truly phenomenal job. I don't think there's anything harder than standing up a program from scratch, unless it's standing it up and then having to close it down. But what we have accomplished in ground ops here at KSC, we had a tremendously successful PDR. We are going to use that knowledge that we have gained in developing the systems for Constellation in the future vehicles. A lot of the modifications that we made out to the launch pad, that lightning protection system, you know, was designed for Ares 1. It works for other rockets also. We're in the process of clearing that pad off right now, getting all the shuttle infrastructure off there. What we learned on that test flight, you know, the procedures, the integration with the other centers, the integration with the contractors, the hardware integration, you know, that doesn't apply just to an Ares 1 rocket. That applies to any test vehicle. And we're going to use what we've learned as we move forward in the future. I think it's been tremendously successful, but we've been given a new change in direction, and we have to accept that change and figure out how to make it work to our advantage and not just cling to the past. Now, are we going to end up with something that may look similar to Constellation in the future? That's still to be determined. You know, the President proposes the budget. It's in, then we have hearings, which we're going through right now with the House and the Senate. The House and the Senate compromise, and eventually we get, you know, an authorization bill. And where it starts and where it ends up, there's a lot of compromise and room for maneuvering there. So we still have to see what the final configuration comes out of that budget, all right? But I think we have to accept that we have been given a change in direction, and we need to make it work to our advantage and figure out how to do that.